Are the Minnesota Vikings really Super Bowl contenders? After Sunday's win against the Seattle Seahawks, I think you have to call them that. There is no, they're just beating the Jacksonville Jaguars on the road. No, they went into an incredibly difficult venue and beat a playoff caliber team, and they did so without being fluky. They just won that football game. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about other elements. We're going to talk about where things should be with the J.J. McCarthy, Sam Darnold debate. And to finish off, we're going to have a little bit of Christmas fun because tomorrow is Christmas Eve and we are in a festive spirit. Welcome to the Real Forno Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Real Forno Show, hosted by the one and only Tyler Forness. A to Z Sports sought him out to be their Minnesota Vikings reporter and NFL analyst. And he's a proud contributor over at SKOL North's Purple Daily. Tyler is also the captivating host of The Good, The Bad, and The Hungry on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network, and a founding member of Vikings First and SKOL.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to an episode of the Real Forno Show right before Christmas. That is why we're going live at 5 instead of 6, because it's Christmas and we have plans here in the Forness house. I'm Tyler Forness. With me as always in the top left corner, he is producer Dave. Dave, you were festive yesterday with that Santa hat. Where is it now?
It's sitting right over here.
That's fair. You know what we should do? We should get you a Santa hat that was dipped in Maker's Mark. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, you know how they dip Maker's Mark in wax?
Correct.
For the top? We should get you a Santa hat that was dipped in that Maker's Mark wax. Because I think that'd be cool. Welcome to the Real Forno Show.
Is a Christmas cap.
Ooh.
And they do sell
them. That's a good one. Now you can be you're the good English schoolboy for Christmas too. Mm-hmm. That's perfect. I love it. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Real Forno Show. We're going to talk a lot about this Minnesota Vikings team. Who, let's be real, they're Super Bowl contenders. I don't think you can have any other takeaway other than that. At this point, they're finding ways to win in non-fluky ways. They're finding ways to win against really good football teams, and they're doing so rather convincingly at times. And I think last night's game against the Seattle Seahawks is one of those convincing kind of wins. It wasn't a convincing win in a traditional sense. Like the win week 3 against Houston Texans really just boat raced them off the field. That was convincing. But you did not leave that game against the Seattle Seahawks thinking that the Vikings should have lost that game. You left feeling good about the fact that they got down late in the fourth quarter because the Seattle Seahawks offense was playing really, really well. And Sam Darnold not only had to call his own play, but dealt with a rolled ankle and found Justin Jefferson on one of the better throws I've ever seen him make. Like moving forward, throwing off platform against cover 2 where you have to put the ball in the right spot. And he nailed it. And they even said something along these lines after the game that wasn't even the play design. It wasn't designed to go to Jefferson. They saw something against cover 2. Jefferson threw his hand up and just took it. Like, that's the kind of improvisation we did not get from Kirk Cousins. That's the kind of thing that we begged for. We pleaded for. We want somebody who could make the Josh Allen throws, the Patrick Mahomes throws, those plays, the Aaron Rodgers off-script stuff where all of a sudden it would just end up in a Green Bay touchdown when you thought he was dead to rights. That's what we begged for, and we got it. It's incredible to watch Sam Darnold play every single week. And I have come to the conclusion that this is a franchise caliber quarterback. This isn't a mirage. We have too much evidence that says that Sam Darnold is a guy. There's just too much of that now. He's doing it in bad weather, which is what we had against the Seattle Seahawks. There was a lot of rain. We have it against really good defense. We have it against poor defenses. We have it at home. We have it on the road. There hasn't been a situation put in front of Sam Darnold yet where he has not been able to prove that he can do it. And I think that element has been so big in the confidence that we have in this football team, the confidence that other people now have in this football team. There are media analysts across the country now saying that the Vikings would be dumb if they didn't extend Darnold. Like, that's where the narrative is shifted. It's not the first few games. Oh, this is just a mirage. He's Sam Darnold. He's going to come back down to earth, which he did. And then he came out on the other side of it like all good quarterbacks do. I think, Dave, because we have all of this stuff coming right now, and this is just a Super Bowl caliber team. They're playing great defense. They're great on 3rd and 4th down. They're very explosive on offense. They could be a little bit more consistent. I think we'd all like to see that, but there isn't a more explosive passing team. Sam Darnold still has the most 20-plus yard completions. And what I mean by that is completions where the ball travels more than 20 yards down the field. He has 29 of them. He has the most yards, 1,036, and he has the most, or the second most with highest completion percentage, just over 50. Russell Wilson, who's a tremendous deep ball thrower, has over 55%. This is a Super Bowl team. Now, here's the thing with Super Bowl teams. You still have to get there. One of my favorite shows ever is The West Wing, and they talk a lot about, because the last 30, 40 episodes is about the campaign for who's going to be the next president. And the thing is, there are people that have the presidential voice, but you can't use it unless you become president. The Vikings have the presidential voice. Now they have to win the election. And winning the election in this case is winning the Super Bowl. They have to figure out a way to do it. Just because they're capable, just because they deserve to be in that conversation, does not mean that they are going to do it, because we've seen that story before. They have to find a way. They have to find a way.
Too many times.
That is the age-old question. Now, how many wins is it going to take? If the Vikings win the next 2, it's going to take 5 wins. If they lose the next 2, it's going to take 4 more wins after that. They're going to have to win at least 3 games against really good competition in January and February. Are they going to be able to do that? I don't know. I am not going to sit here and gaslight you and tell you that it's a guarantee. But they're in the conversation. They deserve to be talked about as a Super Bowl contender because they are one. They're a Super Bowl contender. How you finished that game against Seattle proved it.
Now, Mary Sandberger says there isn't a road game we'll face in the playoffs as tough as Seattle, too. Now,
I think you can look at that in 2 ways, Dave. I don't think there's an environment that's going to be tougher than Seattle, but you damn sure are going to be able to or be eligible to face tougher teams. The Vikings are going to do that the next 2 weeks. At home against the Packers, on the road against the Lions. There are going to be tougher teams than what you'll end up facing with the Seattle Seahawks. And don't get me wrong, that's a damn good football team, Dave. A damn good football team. Don't let now they're 8-7, don't let the record fool you. They have taken really good teams to the brink. I think their struggles last week against the Green Bay Packers really impacted how they were going to game plan this, because they were throwing the ball so quick, and the Vikings were like, okay, our goal is to confuse this offensive line so then we can just take advantage of them. And it worked in the 4th quarter. But they were running 4 vertical concepts and throwing it on a 3-step drop. They were trying to get the ball out quick so the Vikings pass rush couldn't get there. And there's merit to that. But for me, the biggest thing, Dave, is the fact that the Minnesota Vikings are in a position to win and win convincingly over these next 2 games. They don't have to worry about anybody else but themselves. There is no path. Their best path does not involve anybody else but themselves. That's simple. It is
Doc
that
Forno
simple.
says we have 5 games left, and the Seahawks were probably the easiest. We'll see. But they were playing for their playoff lives.
Mm-hmm.
So we got
now
their
they
best.
need a loss from the Rams next week before then having to beat the Rams in week 18. That's not a position you want to be in. That's the position the Vikings were looking at if they lost the game. Now, being that I write about the team full time, you're always pre-writing stuff, and you're always writing and trying to get ahead of the game, because part of the game is not just writing good stuff. You have to be able to get it out in a timely manner. And one of the things that we do is we'll pre-write stuff, so the second one goes out, like a topic comes out, you can publish it immediately. So you can be F2M, first to market. So I wrote about how the Vikings blew it against the Seahawks. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, one of two things is going to happen. Either one, I'm going to be right and I'm going to be able to get some traffic on this, which cool, I get traffic even though it sucks. The other aspect was I give the reverse jinx and the Vikings won the game. And I was very happy it was the second one, because look, I cover the team. I'm going to be 100% honest with you about how I feel about the team, but it doesn't mean I don't want them to win any less. And the fact that they won that game was great. My in-laws are in town. They're staying with me actually, you guys can't even see behind me. That kind of rules, because it's my sister and brother-in-law have all their stuff in an air mattress behind me. So that's kind of one of those things. It was really cool to be able to watch the game with them, and I'm just glad that they got the win, because they earned it. It wasn't a fluky thing. Now, you could say the interception was fluky, but dog, you can't run that kind of route. And Jihad Ward being able to get that pressure caused the ball to be thrown when it did, and they took advantage of it. Like, it wasn't that, hey, Gino just was like staring down and did not see the defender. It was caused by pressure. Pressure the quarterback. The most important thing to do on defense. Pressure, 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 pressure. And they got home when they needed to on Sunday. Like, so many elements. And once we get the tape, we're going to dive in. We're going to do a lot of research, and we're going to kind of figure out, hey, this is what happened. This is what we need to do better. I'm really intrigued to kind of look at the offensive line stuff, because there were some issues there. Where were the issues? Why were they happening? But kudos to Sam Darnold. Dave, Sam Darnold. What a performance maneuvering in the pocket, avoiding pressure.
Most of the time. Yes, he was.
Mm-hmm. Just incredible. Incredible. I do think we need to have a conversation about Sam Darnold, JJ McCarthy. We've talked about this idea that maybe Sam Darnold gets extended, and I do think that it's still a real possibility. What I want people to remember is, and I tweeted a long thread about this like an hour and a half ago. One of the big things here, one of the big things here is that if you put all money aside, money is not an object that you're going to pay them the same, which I know that's not the discussion here, but do that. I'm taking Sam Darnold. Right now, Sam Darnold's proven himself with this team to be a franchise guy. JJ McCarthy right now, as much as we may like him, as much as we may believe that he could be this next great NFL quarterback, that he can do some of the Mahomes stuff. Here's the thing. JJ McCarthy is an idea. JJ McCarthy is not a proven commodity. We believe he will get there. We think he will get there based on what we saw in a preseason game and what Kevin O'Connell has told us. We do not have any proof that he will be that guy. We do not have any tangible evidence that says he's going to be 100%. So
other than his past, coming into the league.
And even so, college to pro transition is a difficult one. You can't use stats to really say, hey, this guy's going to be good. Patrick Mahomes threw a ton of interceptions in college, and now he's one of the best quarterbacks ever. And Patrick Mahomes never won more than 7 games in college. Like, it's so hard to be able to predict anything once you get to the NFL because it's just a different world. And with McCarthy, we just don't know. Anybody who tells you that they know are still guessing themselves. They don't know.
They're projecting.
They're projecting. They have pieces of evidence that they believe is correct. They believe he's going to get there. But you don't know. They don't. And we can't know either. We have to see it on the field to really have that kind of tangible evidence. Now, on the flip side, you can be like, well, Darnold was bad up until he got here. Why would he be good after one abnormal year? And I think that's a very fair argument. How do we know for sure that Darnold's going to be able to do this again? We don't. We straight up don't. And I think so much of this discussion is, oh, JJ McCarthy's going to be just as good. You don't know that. You think, you want, you hope, you believe, but you don't know.
Yeah, but you got,
and that's why
KOC that factors into both of them.
Mm-hmm. And I think the KOC factor is going to end up being the biggest part of this, but I'll get to that here in a little bit. One of the reasons why I asked, who would you rather have? Money does not matter. And why I take Darnold is I've seen the tangible proof. The way this team is acting with Darnold, it's just, it feels special. There's buy-in from everybody, top down with Darnold. This isn't some mirage. This isn't a Case Keenum 2017 where you could tell that Mike Zimmer was begrudgingly starting him because he just kept winning football games. This is the Minnesota Vikings believing in Sam Darnold tenfold. This is real. It's a real thing. Now, can he continue it? That is a very fair question to answer. And I cannot tell you with a certainty the answer is yes. I feel more confident in saying that I believe Sam Darnold will continue this to the Minnesota Vikings than I do saying that JJ McCarthy is going to become a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League, because we have more tangible evidence and we just have more data points that we can point to that say, hey, Darnold's going to be really good. And you know what? If you disagree with me, that's okay. My big thing is we don't know that either one is going to end up being great moving forward. This is why back in June when we started talking about what if Sam Darnold's really good, I made the comparison point to the 2004 San Diego Chargers, who at the time did not know. They did not know that they had two Hall of Fame caliber quarterbacks on the roster, but they did. In Drew Brees, who was the veteran, after 3 years hadn't really proved anything, and Phillip Rivers, who they drafted 4th overall after they traded Eli Manning to the Giants. So Drew Brees goes on and has a Pro Bowl year in his final year of his deal. So what do? Do you get rid of the guy who's proven, hey, this guy is now really good? Or do you go to the young rookie who you drafted believing he's going to be really good? They chose the franchise tag, and the Vikings or the Chargers end up starting Drew Brees all year. Brees tears his shoulder to oblivion in one of the final weeks of the year, and they let him go in free agency. And the rest is history. Phillip Rivers steps in and is great. Drew Brees is great for the Saints. And everybody won. Do I believe that the Vikings have two Hall of Fame caliber quarterbacks on this roster? No. But the interesting thing about looking back and looking forward is if the Vikings were to franchise tag Sam Darnold, hypothetically speaking, he and JJ McCarthy would be taking up 0.5% more on the salary cap than Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees. Just 0.5%. We're 0.5% difference. So it wouldn't even be an unprecedented thing to be able to keep Sam Darnold on the franchise tag for 1 year to kind of see, hey, what do we do here? Because now we're being given more data points where we have to kind of take this really seriously. And I think that's a really interesting conundrum. Now, if he wants a long-term deal, which he absolutely should, he should cash in on this, because if he flames out, at least he got the one big contract. At least he got that before everything came crumbling down. Or if he's just great, well, guess what? He'll be able to cash in a second time, and he deserves it. But it would be advantageous for him to pursue a long-term contract, whether that be with the Minnesota Vikings or somebody else. Now, what does that end up meaning for the Vikings keeping him? I don't know. I can't tell you that. But it does make things a little more interesting with the salary cap. So let's talk about the cap. There's this idea kind of percolating that the Vikings will objectively have a worse roster next year by having Sam Darnold extended. I disagree completely. If they extend him, let's say he has like a $20 million cap hit next year. That is still less than what Darnold and Kirk Cousins have this year, which is $38.5 million. What, Dave?
It depends on, that's if they give him an extension. If they tag him, it's just under 42 million projected.
It'll be slightly more.
That'll be harder to take. Maybe.
The one element that I still think that it's hogwash to even make that kind of comparison is the Vikings have $71 million in dead cap right now. $71 million. So if you end up having that kind of dead cap, well, let's say you give 42 of it to Sam Darnold. Vikings have $76 million in cap space. There is still nearly $30 million extra from what you did not have this past year in 2024. So if you want to talk a long term, your roster won't be as good or well-rounded because you have Darnold. I think it's an incredibly fair take. But to say that next year's roster will be worse than the 2024 roster because they decided to keep Darnold, there's just no basis in reality off of that.
But won't that, all right, say take the 42 million off the 70, whatever, right?
Okay.
You still have some money left over. The Vikings need to re-sign some of their own free agents. Cam Bynum first comes to mind, especially Hitman retires. How we're going to do that sort of deal. Cam Bynum's a big piece of that, playing beside him. And also the targeted areas like an interior O-lineman, i.e. Trey Smith of the Chiefs, please. And or interior D-line or corners, because we got aged corners right now. Now, granted, we get a couple back. We get Mekhi Blackman back next year. It's how do you square that circle of being able to afford all those targets and still spend $42 million on Sam Darnold-ish, right? That's the tag. That's not an extension. An extension you can play with money. That's the tag.
So there's a couple elements at play here. One, if you extend Byron Murphy, there's a realistic possibility that you lower his cap hit for next year. Because remember, he already has that 3 years of dead cap. I believe it's around like $6 million. So that's a possibility there. So let's just say it's a wash. Let's say you extend Byron Murphy and his cap hit is the exact same as what it is right now with the dead money. Okay, so you got him. You still have $34 million in cap space. Say we sign Cam Bynum, 4 years, $60 million, $15 million a year, because I don't think he's getting much more than that. Top end safeties are getting approaching 20. He's not that guy. He's a very, very good football player. He's not one of those elite level safeties that are like difference makers because he's just not that athlete. So $15 million, let's say it's about $5 million that first year, which is kind of around where a lot of these Vikings contracts have been. That's what Jonathan Grenard had. So then now we're down to $29 million. Let's say we get Trey Smith. Give him 4 years, $90 million. Say it's a $10 million cap hit. Now you have $19 million. You just fortified 3 holes completely, and that's before you touched any other contract on your roster. Maybe you want to restructure TJ Hawkinson's contract to create some cap space. You could do that with Brian O'Neill. You could extend Josh Oliver and lower his cap hit, which is about $10 million. Like, there are ways to be able to manipulate it. There are ways to be able to create space and be a little creative with those contracts. I think Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and Rob Brzezinski have done a fantastic job of that. I'm not going to say it's going to be the easiest path, but I'm saying to say that this roster will be worse, I just don't think it is based in reality. Because let's say you just extended those or re-signed those 2 guys and then added Trey Smith. That roster is you could argue it's immediately better than it is right now. Like, that's a lot of talent. So I'm not even going to sit out here and say that I believe that the Vikings should keep Sam Darnold or should go with JJ McCarthy. I just think that there's too much discussion in absolutes. There is no absolute. There isn't. There is no absolute here. We are dealing with variables. This is similar to the 2018 quarterback decision in that we have multiple guys that we could theoretically go with, but unlike 2018, there's no outside forces. There's no outside guy that we could be going for. It's going to be Darnold, or it's going to be McCarthy, or it could be both. There's a 0% chance it's neither of them. Unless they like cannot play. So Ted Glover brings up an interesting point. You pay him and they blow up their entire philosophy of building a roster around a rookie QB deal. So I think one of the interesting things about this front office is they have always been open to more data points, and they've always been open to the flexibility of the unknown. And the unknown was Sam Darnold. And the idea was, hey, you're going to come in here and you are going to play for somebody else's money. But they also ended up deciding, hey, we're probably going to end up starting JJ McCarthy because that's kind of the direction it was trending. Well, Darnold was the guy. He was the guy full force. And now he's playing at a level where he's going to get MVP votes. Sam Darnold's going to get MVP votes. You did that with him. It's a combo effort. I don't think you can look at it with a straight face and say, hey, we can't seriously consider this. Now, is JJ McCarthy the better option? Yeah, probably. You could argue that it is the better option right now, but I don't think it's cut and dry. And I do think that now that they're being presented with all this new information, which is important, you have to be willing to adapt your philosophy. You have to be willing to adapt your decision-making based on new information. And I don't know what Sam Darnold will end up taking. Somebody put in the chat earlier that Pat McAfee was hearing he was going to get north of $50 million. Maybe. I don't know that.
That's what I'm projecting. Because the market for good QBs is so needy and the supply is so minuscule this year, he's going to make more than 50. That's just my educated guess.
So I genuinely don't know. We think they'll get, like, he could get 50 million. But here's the thing. Even if there's a lot of demand, maybe none of those teams want to pay him 50 million. Because Baker Mayfield last year just got $33.3 million average annual value. 3 years, $100 million. Baker has had more success in the league, has a higher draft pedigree in the league, and had a similar season to Sam Darnold last year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who ended up giving him that contract. Why would Darnold all of a sudden get an extra nearly $20 million than what Baker Mayfield did? To me, I'm not on board with that. I don't think that sounds right, but I could be wrong. Like, we don't know because who's going to pursue him? That's going to be the ultimate test.
One, because of inflation. We know prices go up every year.
Dave, we're talking $18 million, not 2 or 3.
Right. And two, because he's taken this team to be 13-2. A magical season. You had me put Super Bowl contender on the thumbnail. He's been part of making this team a Super Bowl contender. Did Baker Mayfield make any team a Super Bowl contender? No. He's above Baker Mayfield on his play level this year. And when Baker Mayfield got paid, we had that huge rookie class coming out, right? Where we had 5 or 7 top quarterbacks to choose from. How many they got this year? Maybe 2, And there's questions about both of those. That's why. It's when it's rare. Hey, I read yesterday or whatever it was that Danny Dimes bought his Giants lineman a very high-class, limited edition bottle, each of them a bottle of tequila. That bottle of tequila was $1,600 a piece. Why? Because it's limited. It's very special. Sam is a limited commodity. He will be special when it comes to this next coming season. And that's how I view it. I think that's how the league's going to view it, and we're going to find out.
It's interesting because we don't know what the market's going to be. We've been completely wrong about multiple players. Like Justin Jefferson got $5 million more per year than the number one paid wide receiver in the National Football League, Tyreek Hill. Like it could get 55. He could get 35. My projections have been about like 3 years, 110, which is like about 36 million a year, 37, because I think that you're going to see some inflation from Baker Mayfield. Because remember, Baker had a great year too. They won the AFC or the NFC South. They nearly beat the Lions in the NFC divisional round, and he just has more of a track record of success. I thought he got unfairly run out of Cleveland, and I think that they wish they hadn't done that at this point. But could he get more? Absolutely. I just don't think we can say with any form of certainty that he's going to get X, Y, or Z at this point, because there has to be an open market, and they have to determine that. We just don't have that information right now.
Then why are we talking about franchising him?
Because then it's a guarantee that he stays.
And it's $42 million or just under.
Mm-hmm.
That's is the floor.
It's also a 1-year deal, which also complicates things because you may it may be more on a 1-year deal, but on an extension, hey, maybe like, hey, we'll give you the 3 years, 110, which is like $6 million less per year, but you're getting 65 of that guaranteed or whatever number you want to put out there. Like these contract negotiations always get kind of weird like that. So we'll find out. But the whole point of having this conversation and trying to flesh it out is the fact that with JJ McCarthy and Sam Darnold, you don't know, and neither do we. There's a lot of data points out there, but it's a very ambiguous decision right now. And I'll tell you, if Kevin O'Connell and adofo-mensah say they're going to go with Sam Darnold, I'm going to trust them. If they're going to go with JJ McCarthy, I'm going to trust them. They're going to go with Darnold on the franchise tag and keep McCarthy around, I'm going to trust them. I think that's kind of the big thing to have a conversation about because they've earned the right for our trust. They moved on from Kirk at the right time. They got the guy who they believe is going to be the franchise, and their bridge quarterback has proven himself to be a franchise guy.
Mm-hmm.
They have nailed every portion of this. I criticized the hell out of them when they gave Cousins that 1-year extension. It ended up being really smart in retrospect. Maybe not salary cap wise, but the idea of the competitive rebuild, well, they've nailed it. They have successfully rebuilt and retooled this roster while going 33-16. They deserve our trust.
Chicago's plan was going to be the plan that win, and they were going to take back the North and never let go. The total rebuild.
No. I used to be team total rebuild, and I think there were plenty of reasons to be concerned with the idea of the competitive rebuild because it sounds kind of asinine and backwards, right? Where hey, we're gonna always try and be competitive while rebuilding this thing. It's not. It feels like have your cake and eat it too. But I do think with how the Vikings have gone about it, where, hey, we're going to keep stability at quarterback with Kirk Cousins. We are going to have like cycle in new guys. We have Christian Darrisaw coming, who's going to be a great left tackle. Justin Jefferson is at that point was coming into superstardom. You have to cycle out guys like Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, Danielle Hunter, Kirk Cousins, and that's going to take time and money. So you take those hits. Now the Vikings have a pretty clear cap in 2025, meaning that they can make a lot of decisions to help impact this football team. One of those is going to be quarterback. If they keep Sam Darnold, it's going to add dollars onto the cap, which is, I know, it's something that everybody does not want to do because we have that rookie contract. But if they decide that Sam Darnold's the guy and we're not going to stray from him, I think we have to trust that decision. Because the one thing that Darnold has done that Kirk Cousins just never did was elevate this team and find ways to create, find ways to attack down the field. That, to me, is the most important thing. He's different than Cousins. We weren't mad at that Cousins was making all that money. We were mad about what we were getting for that money. I think if Darnold was on that contract, if Darnold was making $40 million this year, Dave, would anybody be annoyed by that because of what we're getting from it?
Oh, if he had a proven record beforehand.
I'm just talking like the dollar amount versus the production.
No, for
if
the
he
production,
was
yeah.
Yeah, and
we're getting
that's
great value on the $10 million that we're paying them.
Yeah, and if he was making 40, I think we'd still feel like, hey, this guy is delivering. We just never had that feeling with Kirk, and I think that's where a lot of this comes about. Just all I'm saying is I don't even know what decision that I'm going to be making or what decision I want them to make, whether it's Kirk Cousins or Sam Darnold. All I'm saying is we don't know for sure.
Sam Darnold.
Oh, yes. I can't believe I butchered that. That's what happens when your brain is fried over Christmas time. Whether it be JJ McCarthy or Sam Darnold, we just don't know. Let the data points sink in. Don't speak in absolutes. And let everything come in time.
Well,
that's the big thing.
Gotta admit, this season has been fantastic. We're 13-2. It's a magical season. I've said it a long time. Drew was like, just talk about how good this season is. It is good. And that's what's driving this conversation. And we're here to enjoy it. And it's just, and we want many, many, many more. We want a dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody says, you know, one before I die. And I've always said, no, I want more than one. I want a dynasty. I want to feel like a New England Patriots fan. And you get down to, does the team decide short-term or longer-term dynasty projections? Obviously, the whole idea was JJ is you got that long time period ramp up where he's not costing you a whole lot. And if you can win during that time, it's all free money.
Mm-hmm.
Or do they want to start paying now and trying to figure it out and how to fill in those gaps with funny money and pushing it down the road? We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Biz Woofer in the comment says, JJ McCarthy won a championship. Yeah, he did win a championship in high school. He did win a championship in college, both as a starting quarterback. That's really impressive. And I'm not going to take anything away from him. It's different to do it in the NFL. And we don't have any data points saying that he is going to do that in the NFL. I want to believe it. I want to believe he's going to be able to do that, but we just don't know. And that's where this conversation is. It's a bunch of unknown. We have more evidence that Darnold can play at a high level in the NFL than JJ McCarthy. We just do. That doesn't mean that Darnold's going to finish as doesn't mean Darnold's going to finish as a better quarterback than JJ McCarthy overall. That doesn't mean JJ McCarthy's not going to do this, that, or the other thing. But there's a lot of data points out there. And there isn't a lot that says JJ McCarthy is a guaranteed success. Just remember that. Just remember. All right.
Doctor says just 5 more games until a lot of us can rest.
Yeah, like I'm going to get to rest after that. I want to talk about a couple more minor things before we kind of get to some Christmas stuff because look, it's Christmas. I think.
How about the Saints against the Packers tonight?
Yeah, Jair Alexander's out
Saints.
Again. Packers people are like, what is going on? Why isn't he playing? It's very funny. It's very funny. I kind of hope he plays against the Vikings so then they can torch him. because that would be really hilarious. But I digress. Yeah, watch the game. I will be at dinner. We're eating in this like igloo gimmick. Sounds kind of cool. Then the other element that I think we have to talk about is I want to talk about two things quick. Blake Cashman, I think you could argue is the most important player on this entire roster. The Vikings with him are 12-0. They're like first in EPA per play on defense, like third in success rate. Just incredible. Without him, they're like 14th in EPA per play and 28th in success rate, and they're 1-2. Cashman's been incredible for this defense, and quite frankly, I wouldn't be opposed to finding him a running mate that is an improvement over Ivan Pace, and then you use Ivan Pace in more specialty roles, like doing this hyper blitzing and rushing the passer, because that's where he's great. You get a 3-down linebacker next to Cashman, imagine what Brian Flores can cook up. You know what? I have a theory. Maybe that player is Dallas Turner. Maybe they drafted him to be a linebacker and not a traditional edge rusher.
Inside linebacker?
They keep comping him to Dante Hightower, where they use Hightower mainly as an off-ball guy, but they put him on the ball. He rushed the passer plenty. Like, the way Turner's developed in coverage and that interception, he was in a drop zone. Like, he wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to be lined up to rush the passer and then just drop. No, he was off the ball and dropping. So I'm curious what that plan is, because you know what? You could argue that he would be a great off-ball linebacker. You could argue he'd be a great edge. You could use him in both facets. Just something to monitor over the course of time. Who knows what they end up doing with him, but it's not nothing that they're using him more in coverage. Just remember that. And then lastly, the Vikings are phenomenal at getting hidden yards on offense. Here's what I mean. We talked a lot about the Vikings are great at drawing pass interference penalties. They have two of the top 3 wide receivers in the NFL at drawing pass interference penalties in terms of yards. Justin Jefferson has drawn 8 pass interference penalties for 154 yards, and Jordan Addison's drawn 3 for 117. They're just bonkers, Dave. They are doing a great job in drawing these penalties. And you know what? Penalty yards are just as good as earned yards because it advances the football. And if you're going to give me 45 yards on a pass interference, that's just as good as a 45-yard catch. I'll take it. Doesn't matter. And those hidden yards are going to be huge in how the Vikings are going to be able to take advantage of some of these things. And I'm really excited about what that could be. I'm really excited about how that's going to continue to grow throughout the course of time. And this Minnesota Vikings team, man, they're finding every advantage they can to be able to win football games. It's great.
It is.
Yeah.
It's
lastly,
magical.
Dave. Yes, it is. Lastly, couple things here. Look, Dave, the Minnesota Vikings, they're going to get a lot of good Christmas gifts. And the
hopefully
one
belated
Christmas
ones
gift,
in February.
I know, right? The one Christmas gift I want the Minnesota Vikings to get is consistency in the run game. I want Kevin O'Connell to kind of look inward and decide, hey, I need to run the ball more. I need to do this, that, and the other thing, because he's just not running the ball enough. There were some people complaining at the end of the first half that he wasn't running the ball, and I was about to kind of tweet that, and then I'm like, wait a second. It's a 2-minute drill. He's not running the ball. That's okay. I'm not going to complain about that, but he does need to stop straying away from it as much as he has. So that is the one Christmas gift I hope the Vikings get, is just a little bit more consistency in calling the running game, because Kevin O'Connell just likes to throw the ball too much. He's kind of got that Andy Reid gene, and that's a good and a bad thing. Do you have a Christmas present, Dave, that you hope the Vikings will get this year?
Yeah, keep winning, baby. Keep winning.
Damn right. Yeah, damn right. Keep winning. Now,
and especially next week. FTP, baby. FTP.
FTP stands for French toast pancakes.
Yeah, sure.
That one of the big things here is it's Christmas time, and I know Thanksgiving is a time to be incredibly thankful, but we are very thankful for this community. 4.83 thousand subscribers to the channel. Those of you that come in here every single week and watch us live, those of you that watch us back on replay, listen to us on the podcast feed, we greatly appreciate all of you. It's honestly, it's a great present for me every single week to join Dave and be able to do this and be able to have football kind of become my life's work. And it's something I don't take for granted. And I just wanted to say thank you. That's a great Christmas present for me this year, is what this has become.
Yeah, everybody here that joins us is family. And from our family to yours, we wish you the merriest of Christmas and the happy holidays, no matter which ones you celebrate.
Happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, happy Festivus for the rest of us. All of them.
Yes, all of them.
We hope you have a great end of December. Or you know what? If you're agnostic, we hope that you just have a good Wednesday and a good Tuesday. So whatever that ends up being for you.
Speaking of Tuesday, tomorrow night we have Sal, and she'll be doing another Victory Tuesday. And we'll have a little visits from everybody in the crew to continue this Christmas celebration. And I'll be wearing the hat again. So, last words, Tyler?
No. If anybody wants to send me a Christmas present, I'm taking I have two. I want a giant ass bar dartboard that you see when you walk into those bars, like those $3,000 ones, or an NFL Blitz arcade machine. Otherwise, a donation to Underdog Rescue would also be appreciated for Eclair and Cheddar. Otherwise, everybody have a wonderful holidays. Spend time with family, spend time with friends. And if you're alone, you know what? Put a football game on, pour yourself a nice beer, and just enjoy the fact that it's a wonderful time of year. I've spent a couple Christmases alone. I know those kind of stink, but find a way to make yourself happy. Meantime,
and to all those deployed as well. They'll be in our thoughts, and they'll be hopefully watching the game.
Yeah. Stay safe. Stay happy. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. And SKOL Vikings, everybody. Thank you for watching.
SKOL Vikings. And you know Santa was a Vikings fan.
Damn right.
Like, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notifications. It helps us grow this community that we all love, our Minnesota Vikings. And on behalf of Tyler Forness and myself, Dave Stefano, thank you so dearly for watching The Real Forno Show. SKOL, everyone!